When I first picked this foot up, I did not expect to find what I did. In fact, this trim escalates pretty quickly. Welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. The reason this video is in vertical form is because when I first started trimming on this, all I saw was that black area, that stained horn, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a lesion that's already healed up. But it wasn't a few knife strokes in, and I could figure out that that was not the case, but it already started recording, so I followed up and just kept going the way it was. You're going to see, there's not only is it not a healed lesion, the lesion underneath this is actually quite large. Expect to see something that big? I know I certainly didn't. Anyway, with this trim, we're not going to only show you this one. We're going to follow this cow all the way through the healing process. So you're going to get to see this lesion from this very first trim all the way through to the block removal at the end and the complete healing of this. So it's kind of an interesting one. This actually heals much faster than I thought it would. At this point, looking at it, I wasn't sure how long this was going to take. I thought this could be a real journey to try to get this fixed. But you'll see there's multiple trims, but it heals up actually quite quickly. We need to pare away all of this loose horn, obviously, work our way through like we do a lot of the trims. There's just a lot more corium exposed here than we typically see. This is some pretty intricate trimming that needs to be done here because not only is there a lesion there, obviously, but that lesion has digital dermatitis on it. I mean, it's very sensitive, so gotta work carefully around that to try to remove all of that loose horn without getting into any of that corium or that digital dermatitis as we work. Here you can see the extent of this lesion. It basically covers the upper half of that claw, which is why I was a little concerned at how long this was going to heal and thought it would be a good candidate for one of these follow-up video style formats, so that's why we did that with this one. We're going to get this all cleaned up and wrapped, and then we'll move ahead a couple weeks and see how she's doing. So here we are now, 2 weeks later on my next visit to this farm. So the day that this recheck came along, I couldn't hardly believe that this was the actual cow that I was looking for. I wrote down the list ahead of time, gave it to the herdsman, and he said, yeah, I brought you all the cows on your list. But I picked this foot up and I thought there's no possible way that this could be that claw, right? There's no way that could have healed up that nicely. And I didn't remember exactly what the other one looked like. I mean, I knew the extent of it, but I didn't remember exactly what it looked like. So I pulled up that footage and I thought, holy cow, it actually is her. This cow made a remarkable improvement in just 2 weeks. It's not fully healed, but I think we can all agree this made a drastic improvement, much more so than I thought it would. Here you can see better that small area that still has some dermatitis on it. We're going to have to retreat that, but overall, the area around that turned out really nice. We got a new layer of hoof horn across the entire thing. That big lesion across the middle, that's cleaned up, which I actually thought that's where the more irritated corium was. I thought that area would take the longest to heal, not necessarily here along the edge, but that's the way it turned out. So we're going to clean this up really well, wrap that little patch of dermatitis, and we'll come back on my next visit once again, which is 2 weeks later. We'll speed up this claw cleanup a little faster. There's not as much to see here. I'm just trimming through all this, making sure we have no dermatitis anywhere, and making sure that little spot in that white line has cleared up, and it has. process, so we're good there. We'll finish cleaning this up and get a nice close-up so you can see the way it looks. This is where that most inflamed corium was on that first trim. This is that spot in that white line where on our second visit where we still had some dermatitis. But this area has filled in beautifully. It's starting to firm up. It's obviously not thick enough yet to bear weight, so we're going to leave that block on, and we'll take that off in 2 weeks when we come and see her again. Still holding on strong now. You can see she's walking much better as we go. 2 weeks later, though, she popped that block off on her own. 6 weeks later, it's about the perfect timing anyway. As we get this trimmed up, we're not going to take too much off of that claw that we were working on. Remember, we're trying to get that sole thickness deep enough to bear weight. We're probably just at that point now, so we don't want to take too much off of that. I'm just going to clean up these edges, try to balance this claw up, and let this girl go. This area's firmed up nicely. Got another successful claw transformation in the books.